One of Wales's most successful rugby union players, George North, has announced that he will retire from international rugby after their final Six Nations match against Italy on Saturday. North starts after being dropped for last Sunday's defeat to France. For more on this, let's cross to our senior reporter Geraint Hughes, who joins us live right now. Geraint, as you'll know, it's been a tough old Six Nations for Wales, 4 defeats from 4, but you can imagine just how loud they will be cheering in that stadium behind you now on Saturday, given that the situation with George North and the real desperate desire to get that final win over Italy.
Yeah, if there was a desire to get a win, to avoid a whitewash in the Six Nations Championship, I think the atmosphere would be pretty incredible against Italy here this coming weekend. But the mere fact that you have literally got one of the legendary figures of Welsh rugby, who is now today confirmed he's calling time in his international career, retiring, it'll be a very, very special atmosphere inside there, because they are going to be saying goodbye to a player that is pretty unique in Welsh rugby terms. You know, when he burst onto the scene as an 18-year-old in 2010, scoring against South Africa, that day he became the youngest Welsh player to score a try. He, even back then, when he was just a mere sort of 18 years of old, he was a huge physical specimen, and that's been what his game has been based around. He was powerful, he was quick, he was determined, skillful as well, and he's had some pretty good times with Wales as well since making that debut back in 2010. You know, up until this season, where it's been a very challenging affair. It's been an international career of mainly success, and you know, I could be here all week, David, talking about his achievements. You know, he's the 3rd most capped player for Wales. You know, he will, inside the stadium behind me now at the weekend, his 121st and final cap for Wales. There are only 2 players above him, the great Alan Wyn-Jones and the prop Gethin Jenkins. Are the only players that have had more caps for Wales. In try-scoring terms, he's on 47 tries. That's the 2nd in the all-time records for Wales. He'll have to go some at the weekend. He'll have to score 11 tries against Italy at the weekend to level the great Shane Williams, who's well clear on 58 tries. But just that contribution alone puts him inside the top 10 of all point scorers for Wales. I think it's 235 points all those tries amassed to that he scored for Wales. So he's on that list as well. And just the other achievements, you know, he's the youngest ever try scorer at a World Cup. He's the youngest ever player to 100 caps. You know, the achievements roll on and on and on. As I said, I could literally be here all week going on about that. But I think what it will be for him, it'll be a poignant sort of day. I'm sure he was stung by being dropped for that France game last week, although it's probably explained to him is that it's Warren Gatland and the coaches are very much trying to look to the future, look to the forthcoming World Cups. They've got to change, bring in the new young players and blood those players as well. I think it would have hurt him missing that game against France the weekend. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It'll be a very special affair in there. I think from a Welsh Rugby Union point of view, it's a good distraction because they've lost 4 games in the Six Nations so far. But I think Warren Gatland has made it clear, even before we knew about the retirement of George North, that he really wanted a special occasion, a special atmosphere, so that Wales avoid losing all their games, something they haven't done in well over 20 years. But with added that George North factor on there as well, a very special talent as well. And let's not forget as well, not just for Wales, he's had huge impact with the British and Irish Lions. You know, he was injured the last time round that in 2021 in New Zealand, the tour there as well. He didn't play a test match. In fact, I think he got injured and had to come home. But it was in 2013. Anyone who follows the British and Irish Lions, the Lions, and I'm sure we'll see that sort of ramped out again before the Lions take on Australia now, shortly coming up in 2025 as well. That tour will have those images of the Lions against Australia from 2013, where George North had 2 moments which stick out for me. In the first test, where he ran from well inside his own line and just went through a number of tackles, scored a spectacular try, and then what's been coined the fireman's lift, where he picked up the Wallaby fullback Israel Folau, and as he was trying to be tackled, just picked him up and drove forward. 2 images of that Lions tour to Australia in 2013. So he's got those 3 test matches with the Lions under his belt. He would have had more were it for injury, you think, as well. But a huge figure, literally, in Welsh rugby and in Lions history as well.
And in terms of this announcement, Geraint, how much of a surprise was it, if at all?
I think, again, it's maybe transpiring as not too much of surprise. Listen, I alluded in my previous answer to you there about Warren Gatland and the coaches of Wales. They are having to go down to this very youthful look to the side, which may or may not explain some of the results that Wales have been having in the Six Nations, but they've got to build for the future. They've had a number of high-profile retirements. Alan Wynne-Jones, of course, Justin Tipperick, Rhys Webb, etc., etc. George North now on top of this as well. But I think even though North probably the back end of last year, when he said that he was going to leave the Ospreys and he was off to play in France for Provence, even though he was making that transition, it didn't necessarily mean the end of his international career. But maybe conversations have been had between George North, Warren Gatland and the Wales coaches about they are building for the next World Cup in 2027. And could George North make a fifth World Cup? He's become the first Wales player to get to 4 World Cups. Could he do a fifth? Maybe that would just be a little bit too far with his age, miles on the clock, Warren Gatland wanting to look for probably more youthful players, bring the younger players through. Maybe that wouldn't necessarily be on his radar there. So maybe those conversations have been had and George North has thought, well, what better place to go out? On my terms, inside that stadium, 74,500 people cheering him and the rest of the Red Wall on against Italy on the weekend, looking for a positive result. I think he's in control, and what a way to go out.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed, Geraint.